It's just me again, and if you saw part 1, I'm going to continue on with part 2. Now, at the end of part 1, I was talking about Satan, Moloch, and the Tree of Death, Pharmeo. But I decided that's best left to another series of clips about the Kabbalah, which I'll be doing. But for now, I will continue on with Satanism as you would see it on street level. So, I'll continue on with what I was telling you in the first clip about rudimentary explanation of Satanism, as I think is relevant. For those of you who think, hey man, I'm a hip cool Satanist man, and people of various faiths who oppose Satanism and wish to have an insight on what they're up against. So I'll continue on with my list and quote examples from my book. Again, it's free, Creed of Asia. Anyway, continuing on. Now, people seem to think that you can go to a Satanist ritual in dirty clothing, you know, so long as you look like a goth with your moth-eaten clothing, dirt stains all over it. No, you cannot. You cannot. Because one thing demons will demand is cleanliness, that you show you've made an effort to be decent when you approach them. So if you turn up at a black mass, you know, with half a pizza down the front of your pants or something, there's a good chance you'll be barred from participating. Possibly you might get beaten up, and that's by the mortals there. And if you're practicing solitary and you evocate a demon up, and especially a high-ranking one, then it can cost you your life. You do not ever behave in such a contemptuous manner. Just like if you go to a church, you don't go to a church in filthy clothing. It shows contempt. So it's not that I'm trying to give you tips on how to be a Satanist. In fact, I hope to convince you that you do not need to go into Satanism. You shouldn't even be in it. Because if you're going by internet rumours as a basis for some sort of satanic theology, you're going to go down big time. So Satanism is not for slobs. Now, this is a very important point about blood sacrifices. Blood sacrifices, in order to practice magic, are not necessary. I will tell you straight off, do not do it. The only demons that demand blood sacrifice before they do anything for you are the real nickel and dimers, the ones at the bottom of the order. And I never performed a blood sacrifice, and because it wasn't necessary. I didn't need to do it. I didn't want to do it. So, like I explained earlier, there's an order: 4 princes, 8 sub-princes, and then you got the rest of the demons in the various groupings. If you make a blood sacrifice to the ones at the bottom, and you haven't done so for, at the very least, the Satan, you have disrespected the entire order, and you will not get any protection, because as order comes from the top down, you've got the bottom rung ones, and you'll fall into a blackmail type situation. Example, you could approach A, B, C demon, and you might want, I don't know, sex. So, and he might say, okay, but you have to perform a blood sacrifice. I want a chicken. No. And so you go ahead and do it. And you might end up with a drug addict, so this, for example. And you have your fun, blah, blah, blah. Then you decide you want to do the neighbour's wife. And you call up ABC demon again and say, well, this time I want the neighbour's wife. And ABC demon says, well, I don't have the authority to perform such a favour for you, such an act. You have to see XYZ demon. So you summon up XYZ demon and say, I want to do my neighbour's wife. And he will say, oh, it requires blood sacrifice. And you say, yeah, okay, I'll give you chicken. No, 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 no. You want the neighbour's wife? You give me 2 chickens. And then you may perform that. You may cut the heads off 2 chickens. And then the next demon you might approach will say, well, I want 2 chickens and a goat. And it will just keep going up and up and up. So every time you do a ritual, you basically have to go on a slaughter fest. And it will not stop. If I were to compare it, I would say prison. If you put out for one guy in a prison, you're going to be putting out for all of them. And so let's say you want, I don't know, protection or drugs or whatever. And one guy might say, I want you to give me a blowjob. Then if you want something else, of course, the next guy you ask will know about what you do and say, well, I want more than a blowjob, I want anal sex, and so on. And it goes up and up and up, all the demands against you. And basically, you can't get out of it. So as long as you buy into that sort of system, because you've disrespected the entire order, Satan's not going to intervene on your behalf because you've disrespected him by not giving him blood sacrifice first. And to perform, I suppose you would say, black magic, and it's really not magic, it's sorcery, then why are you doing it for? It just shows, if you go along those lines, you haven't actually bothered to seriously look into what you're doing. And another reason I will point out why you should never ever perform a blood sacrifice is blackmailed by your brothers. Yes. See, if you were to come into a, I don't know, I suppose you say group or coven, and you were to perform a blood sacrifice yourself, anybody says that there's someone in the background with a video camera and they're recording you. Now, let's say you, I know, you find Jesus or you decide to leave or whatever, and you're thinking, well, I did some bad things when I was a Satanist, I'm going to go to the police. And so you get the people arrested, they go to court, and you're up there in the witness box and you're saying, oh yes, these people, they cut off the heads of animals and whatever. But the people you're trying to get put away will no doubt have a lawyer, And then the lawyer says, hey, Your Honour, I've got this DVD. I think the jury are entitled to see it. You play, and there's you, cutting heads of chickens, goats, whatever. Regardless of how truthful your testimony is, it's going to become really worthless really quick. Do not ever perform a blood sacrifice. It is not necessary, and it'll be held against you. And if it's recorded on a video, then that's it. There's nothing you can do. So, because if you start performing blood sacrifices and you're only serving the bottom rungs, the nickel and diamond demons, you've got no protection, not within the order. And yeah, you end up like a punk in a prison. You're putting out for everyone, and it will just get worse. Never. You should look at it that the demons are members of a criminal gang that you are involved with. You serve the boss. It's like if you join the mafia, you're just one of the crew. But you got to give first respect to the Godfather. Above all things, that's how it works. And you may think, oh, I'm protected or that. Unless you know what you're actually doing, you've got no protection. And, well, you say, what about me? Well, I was a magician or a legend magician first. I just served Satan as a means to an end. And you may be asking, what sort of people become Satanists? I'll put it this way, 5% were people like me, or drawn in by the occult, or drawn in by magic. And the knowledge we could get and the ways to practice it. Then about 5% are people, I know you just call them evil, the sociopaths, psychopaths, greedy people, people who want money, celebrity and lifestyle, and don't care how they get it. These are the sort of people you wouldn't let them into your house. I guarantee you that. But 90% of the people who fall into Satanism are the desperate. And this is where, let's say, the community, the organisation of the various faiths have failed. If you don't have money, you could go to the church down the road because they deal with bums like you. I mean, that's the sort of thing. You also have people who become lonely and isolated due to social circumstance, could be varied. The church, quite frankly, fails it. Every other religion fails it. But you join Satanism, it doesn't take much for the demons to come up and offer you the things you desire. So, now just going on. So like I said, with blood sacrifices, it's not necessary at all in a magical, esoteric manner, but it's a type of insurance, because any money says you're going to be videoed. Just go through the rest of and people think that Satanism is targeted specifically against Christianity. Well, that's not true too. When I was a Satanist, we used to have